Have you noticed how we don't talk anymore? We just label each other for our own convenience. I don't know about you, but I don't know where you live, but in Korea, everybody treats MBTI like a religion. MBTI is the Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's a personality test where you answer questions on your own to figure out your own character. It's self-assessed, so it's not very accurate, but for some reason, the entire nation started doing this test a few years ago, and people of all ages now know what their MBTI is. Somehow, everybody found it so convenient and appealing to label themselves and everyone else with just 4 letters from the alphabet, which even isn't our own language. And I remember that when I was 23 or 24, I had this job interview. And it was a job interview for a sales position. And the interviewer asked me for my MBTI. And as it happened, I happened to know what my MBTI was. So I told her, and she said, "Oh, I don't think you're going to be a fit for this position because we're looking for an extrovert who can manage all our clients." And that was the end of our conversation. But it's not just MBTI. We stopped talking to people to figure out who they actually are, and instead we replaced talking by labeling each other for our own convenience. So shifting gears a little bit, let's actually think about the words that we use these days in modern society, the so-called internet slangs. And what we can notice is that they're usually dumbed down and have a peculiar way of making the user of the language look very stupid. And you might also notice that oftentimes the words have a conspicuous tone of mockery and contempt. So words like NPC, basic, simp, incel, normie, boomer, Karen, 304. Obviously, there are also positive ones that counter the negative ones, but I'm just pessimistic, so I'm just going to stick to the ones that are fun. For some odd reason, the people we meet in real life are actually, pretty decent. They try to fit in, sip coffee from a mug with the puppy's face on it. They shop from Amazon. I live in Korea. I don't really know what you guys do, but you know what I mean. Just regular people trying to get by. And if you run into them, you would probably say hi. But all of a sudden, when everyone goes back into their crib and logs into this digital platform, we all feel this surge of anger and rage, and we start pointing fingers at random people and putting labels on their foreheads. Everyone's trying so hard to make this common enemy that we don't even know if they even exist. And the people that weren't even interested in the first place, they get triggered and they get defensive all of a sudden. And because the target groups get bigger and bigger, this creates a bigger clash, leading to more polarization, and it just exacerbates the whole situation even more. And have you noticed how all the people that are actually throwing around these words, these labels, are often the ones that are associated with it and are triggered by them most often? Novelist Hermann Hesse puts this very nicely. So in his novel Damien, there's a character called Pistorius. He's a organ player, pianist, and he says, if you hate a person, you hate something in him that is a part of yourself. What isn't part of ourselves doesn't disturb us. And as a person who lived with rage and contempt in a way to extinguish any form of sadness or negative thoughts in life, I feel this to be true. I think this is very accurate. So I've often realized that what I hate about another person is what I hate about myself. But in the end, what we have to realize is that humans in general, humans are just dumb. Humans in general are just so incomplete and stupid. We're just a collection of genes that got passed down from generation of selfish, cruel, and conniving people who just happen to survive in this harsh world and jungle. And I'm not in any way trying to put down the entire human species, but given the fact that we're so fragile and we're so incomplete, how about we just show a little sympathy towards each other, you know? How about just a little sympathy for everybody?